So Zama, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we go into the future, can you tell us, where did you grow up?
Zama is a girl from Umlazi, born in Umlazi, studied in Umbumbulu. That's where I started doing school. My mom was a teacher at one of the schools that were nearby. Went to another primary school called Zandile Primary School in Umlazi as well. And ended up at a school called Athlone Park. So fundamentally, my roots are in KZN, but I have been raised in both KZN and Gauteng. So the big city lights is where I really, found the innovation or ambition and drive to reach for the stars.
And Zama, what was your dream career when you grew up?
It changed over time. It started off with fashion design when I was younger, but there was a seed that was planted when we moved to a section, section of Umlazi, and we got to interact with one of the first few black chartered accountants, and having seen the esteem that the career attracted and the life that it could unlock for you, it really planted a seed in me to become a chartered accountant one day. I went back and forth at high school. In fact, when I went to university, I thought I would do marketing or commercial law, but I just fell in love with accounting and decided, you know what, let me rather go for this course that everyone says is difficult. Let me prove to myself that I can do anything that I put my mind to. And I never looked back. I fell in love with accounting, and the rest is history.
And now today you're one of the top 35, SAICA, top 35 under 35, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And one of the top 200 male and guardian young South Africans?
Yes, that too.
And I believe the president of the African Women Accountants?
That's correct.
Okay, so Zama, who inspired you in your early days?
A number of people, but I have to single out Mr. Sizwe Nxasano, who is the first black chartered accountant that I got to engage with. And as I said, hearing about all that he was doing and the inspiration that it injected in all of us as youngsters made me admire him.
And where did you start your career?
I started off doing my articles at KPMG. I did my articles, and at the end, they offered me to stay on and become an audit manager. I took that opportunity as I was still trying to figure out where to from here, because the chartered accountancy journey is predetermined for all of 7 years, and one then needs to make decisions for the first time as to what to do now that you've qualified. And I found out about the IDC Academy for deal makers. And I was advised that if I want to enter into deal making, I would get the fundamental skill set to be able to do a due diligence and make an investment decision. So I thought, this sounds like a good idea. And I pursued then another move as a deal maker at the IDC, where I moved from being a business analyst, senior business analyst, right up to being an account manager, leading my own deals and presenting those transactions to investment committees.
I believe from the IDC you went to the NEF?
Yes, that's where I am at the moment.
You're one of the leaders of the NEF. Can you tell us a little bit more about your current role?
All right. So I'll start off maybe by explaining what the National Empowerment Fund does, and then how my role fits into the organization. So the NEF is the only government agency that is mandated to implement and promote broad-based black economic empowerment. And my role then is to provide funding to entities that are either looking for new venture finance, expansion finance, or looking for acquisition finance where there's a transformative deal that is happening.
And when you look over your career, Zama, is there a turning point where things could have gone different, but you decided to take this route?
The big turning point, I guess, was stepping out of audit and into deal making. I was fortunate to have a mentor by the name of Futim Toba, who instilled in me very early on not to be one of the youngsters that switched careers very often. So she had urged me to identify a niche that is aligned with my passion and make sure that I become an expert in that field. So she's a believer of, giving in your 10,000 hours and making sure that you can be a generalist, but there are certain aspects where people seek you, and specifically you, for your particular skill set. So it was ingrained in me from early on in my career that I need to be quite all my career decisions need to be quite well thought out.
Right. And Zama, what is driving you today?
The ability to make a difference in other people's lives. For me, I draw the biggest satisfaction from that. And I get that from the role that I play at the National Empowerment Fund as a fund manager, seeing businesses being established from just a concept, or seeing an organization that employed 8 people now employing 30 or even 100 people. Those are the things that make me feel good about being a South African and making my difference in the world.
Now, Zama, let's talk about leadership. What would you say does the future of leadership hold, and what does the future of leadership mean to you?
The future of leadership is everyone's responsibility as South Africans. I think I like to take it from a macro perspective and then zero it down to, given all the challenges that we face as a country, what are the changes that I want to effect? What are the positive impressions that I want to lead and leave behind, so that I can make sure that we deliver a better South Africa to the future leaders as well.
So what is the legacy that Zama would like to leave behind?
For me, it's a legacy of transformation, empowerment, living one's purpose, and a sense of responsibility to where you come from. So as a leader, you have opportunities, you are given opportunities, but make sure that as you take advantage of those opportunities, you also create opportunities for those that come before you. And leadership as well comes with responsibility. And you are held in high regard as a leader, not just to be admired, but you also have a responsibility to impart some of the learnings that you've learned and share some of the experiences, so that those that come before you can, 1, not make the same mistakes that you have made. 2, they can learn to preempt some of the issues that would come to them on their leadership journey as well.
And Zama, what have you learned from your own journey that you consider most important for building future leaders?
Leaders are people that others look up to for a vision and a direction. So a leader for me is not someone who's extremely smart. It's someone who can influence others and motivate them to reach whatever goal that you've set for yourself as an organization or as a team. So what I've learned is that you need to be able to get the best out of the people that you are leading, and make sure that you are able to sell to them the why they are important, how their role is actually integral to you achieving the greater role.
Now, when it comes to social media, Zama, what is it you tell aspiring leaders? How should they go about navigating social media and building their personal brand on social media?
That's a tricky one, because that's something that I'm also trying to figure out at this point in time. There's a danger with social media to get sucked in without understanding what the consequences are. And what I say to the ladies that I interact with in the African Women Chartered Accountant initiatives is that you must be mindful of the brand that you create. So even when you are on social media, what message are you conveying and what is the potential impact of that? So I think one can use that to share certain traits that they've gained along their journey, and to share some lessons learned or some thought-provoking things that you would like to discuss and elevate. There's a space for that where you can use social media to your advantage. But I also caution against the younger generation for using it for sometimes reasons that aren't value adding, that actually take away from who you are as a person and steal valuable time that could otherwise be invested in making sure that you are one step closer to your personal goals.
Then, Zama, who are the role models of leadership that you would suggest future leaders should study and maybe learn from?
There are a number of role models of leaders, but I think you need to personalize what a leader is to you. So I have identified women that stood for the cause that I believe in. And those are the ladies that I think are leaders that are making a difference. So in my sphere, it would be within the AWCA leadership, the women that preceded me. Those are the ones that I think live the essence of leading, but leading responsibly as well by empowering others. So your Cindy Mabaso Koyana, who's now on the interim board of the PIC, sits on the board of ISCOM as well, as we try and fix the public sector space. Yozodwa Manases and Tidi Mukhabudis, those are the ladies that I really look up to, who have made sure that as they clear a path for themselves, they are also making sure that they are taking younger people and giving them opportunities as well.
Right. And Zama, you mentioned you've been mentored by a number of great leaders. Have you maybe mentored somebody that you can tell us a little bit more about, and a young person, a young future leader who took your advice to heart?
Okay. I'll use an example of a lady who is currently doing articles at one of the listed companies. I'm not sure if I can say her name.
Don't have to.
I don't want to choose because they'll say then I've got favorites. But
right.
People will be able, those who know will be able to figure it out. But early on, she was a bright and intelligent lady. I then planted a seed that she should pursue a career as a chartered accountant. And when she was about to give up, when things became a little bit tough at university, I was there to encourage her to stay the course, because everyone has a different journey to qualifying, but what matters at the end is that you've qualified and you've reached your goal, and you now have these opportunities available to you. So that's a young person that I have mentored, I guess, throughout their career to date. And right now we are talking about positioning and networking and making yourself visible within the work environment, within your social spheres as well. So I was very proud last year when she was actually invited to the company that she works for to be a panel member, sitting with execs, as a 20-something-year-old, and that she was very proud of that, and she shared that with me because it was through the little nuggets of wisdom that I share with her in terms of making sure that people know how great you are. It doesn't matter how smart you are, but if no one can vouch for you, how exceptional you are, then you kind of lost and won't be recognized. So you have to do your work and be great at it, but you have to make sure that you do engage and create relationships and make sure that your brand resonates and that people see you as someone who stands for excellence. So that's one example where I'm really proud of the extent of mentorship that I've done.
And Zama, tell us, Where can our listeners follow you, and how should they connect with you?
So I'm on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Zama Khanyile. My Instagram is Zama Khanyile _CA_SA.
And Zama, last but not least, is there one piece of advice that you would really like to convey to future leaders that they should implement in their own lives?
I think it's to always see the opportunity out of challenges that we face. Out of adversity comes great growth. So it's to always seek the lesson to be learned and seek the opportunity amidst all the challenges that you may be facing.
Well, Zama, thank you so much for sharing your insights and wisdom into the future of leadership and showing us the way into the future as a role model.
Thank you.
And as somebody who is empowering the African woman.
Thank you.